because the times
Woke up this morning thinking about
Those summer days.
best friend got caught up when I stayed in Douglasville. Doing trying to stuff by myself. I'm a What's good, y'all? So this is weird. I never heard of this before. EarlWolf, our Future's forgotten group where Earl and Tyler had a project. I don't know. I'm confused a little bit. Let's get into it. Shout out to my boy at Converse with us.
By Skillshare.
Excuse me.
The first 1,000 people to sign up with the link in the description will get 1 month of free access to thousands of courses. EarlWolf was considered as a collective, but also the stage names of Earl and Tyler. Tebe based his name Earl through his obsession with old people's names, while Tyler's name of Wolf is his Slim Shady persona that he tapped into in his early years of making music, specifically saying that Wolf Haley is the guy that I think I'm deep down inside. I use him to look cool. EarlWolf as a collective is a lost group. After establishing the stage name, they never brought the idea of their first project further than a single track, Orange Juice, from Odd Future's mixtape, Radical. Orange Juice was released within the mixtape on May 7th of 2010. This mixtape was a big deal because it was the first time that Odd Future could really pay homage to their favorite artists and rap over the instrumentals that they grew up with.
Yeah.
Orange Juice specifically uses the instrumental from Gucci Mane's Lemonade, off of the State vs. Roderick Davis. It was a pop rap crossover that brought Gucci further into his mainstream career. Odd Future's Radical shoved them even further into their own careers, as they boasted over the entire tape with horrorcore lyrics, mentioning figures like Jeffrey Dahmer and Freddy Krueger. Most of the members of Odd Future were still in high school at the time. Earl was merely 16 and Tyler was just 19 years old. Jasper hops on at the end of the track to remind us that Odd Future is making better material than artists that are decades older than them in the game. Not long after the release of Radical, fans were looking for more EarlWolf music, where Tyler responded that this album would be released in August of 2010, a few months after the May release of the mixtape Radical. Tyler described this highly anticipated project to be a short 7-track album, and that EarlWolf is like their mad villain, further stating that it's just going to be us on the tracks going back to back, on some red and meth shit. I'm not going to do any of the beats though, Left Brain is going to lace us with some ill shit. This was essentially the early stages of the EarlWolf idea. Over the years, the anticipation continued, propelled by their amazing chemistry and the fact that we were consistently teased with this project over and over again. They even toured with the stage name EarlWolf throughout the summers of 2013 and 2014, and they even opened up for Eminem in Europe for one of these shows. The anticipation also came from the amount of songs that they created without using their official title, EarlWolf. It initially started off with Bastard, with Ass Milk, 6 months before Orange Juice was released. They jump on the track back and forth throughout the verse, with similar vulgar topics to Orange Juice. This is likely where Tyler got the inspiration of going back and forth like Redman and Method Man throughout the track. Only a month after the release of Radical, they collaborated on another 2 songs, on Earl's self-titled debut mixtape. These songs were called Couch and Pigeons. In Couch, Tyler attempts to kill Earl and tries to dispose of the evidence. Pigeons holds the same idea while sharing the hook, concluding the song with Kill Them All, Odd Future is what they represent. Another album that they hopped on together was Mellow Hype's Black and White, on the song Corduroy, that holds the same subject matter. Between the brief EarlWolf tours, the question of this promised project came out again 3 years after the initial announcement, where Earl responded that, "We'll do the record when we're ready to sit down for a month and a half and do it in one go. It would be shitty if it was spread out. That's how I want to do shit from now on. That's what I learned from doing Doris. Trying to piece shit together that's spread out kinda sucks. You hit a lot more walls trying to make it sync." But when 2014 came, both artists matured. Wolf and Doris was fully released for a year at the time.
Yeah.
This is when Tyler came to speak out about the collaboration once again. "I'm serious, I don't want to do it anymore. And to be honest, it will never live up to the expectations of people that really want it. Not that it really matters, but I'm not in the mind frame to do a whole album of that shit. I don't want to do it. Maybe one day when I don't want to make clothing and furniture and ass fruity music about lakes and shit, I'll get back around to hard-hitting raps. But the way that things are looking, it's only gonna get worse until I turn full In reality, by the time 2013 hit, the subject matter would have been much different than if it were to be released years ago. Although Doris was dark, it had a much more profound sound than anything else he put out previously. He shocked the audience with Chum. Earl even stated that he knew he might have lost fans with this upcoming album, but he was sure that he'd attract a new audience as well. It brought more of an introspective, depressive attitude rather than anger, understanding his emotions versus lashing out. This is an idea that he would carry throughout his career. Around this time, we did see Tyler jump on tracks such as Sasquatch and Whoa off the album, explicitly stating that just because Chum came out, it doesn't mean that they've lost their roots. As stated before, they can now pull out that personality. The lyrics now have substance, rather than solely the shock factor. Earl did the same and hopped on Wolf, specifically on a more socially aware track, Rusty. Rusty is both a retrospective and present look on how Tyler has affected those around him, making this essentially the perfect track for Earl to feature on. Damo features on the song as well, dedicating the verse to the never-dying hype of Odd Future.
Watch me get this money.
And the influx of money he
Sorry,
still
me
gets
bum.
years in the game. He further reinstates this on the hook, that 24/365 he's always on the grind. Tyler reflects on his past by saying he was once the weird one, but that's why people love him now. The current rappers have stylists because they can't think for themselves, but most importantly, the song ties into his overall influence on the culture. He's not that bad guy that the media perceives him to be. In reality, his brand influences kids to be their true selves, and that's what it's been from all the way from Bastard to Call Me If You Get Lost. In the last verse, Earl further plays the introspective role that he had on Doris, looking at alcohol abuse and stating Brother the Pigeons is Us, another collaboration name that both Tyler and Earl have used, of course amongst EarlWolf. The track ends with a gunshot, with Sam, a character in the album, killing Earl. He survived the stab wound on the track Couch from his self-titled. He survived unlike the rest because he was in Samoa during Goblin, which is when Tyler's Craze Massacre took place in his storyline. This track can also be looked at as Tyler wanting to help others by telling them to be themselves, Earl being the troubled kid in society, while the gunshot in the end are the critics, getting to the troubled kids in society before Tyler can himself. We didn't know at the time, but that verse was the last time we'd hear from both Tyler and Earl on the same track.
Yeah.
Although they went through their differences over the years, EarlWolf did come back to perform at Camp Flog Gnaw 3 years after this release in 2016. In 2018, Odd Future reunited briefly at a listening party, and in 2019, Earl played at Camp Flog Gnaw. Tyler wasn't explicitly on stage with them, but he can be seen backstage rapping along with Earl's songs. Both Tyler and Earl have brought a lot to the table throughout their careers. To say that they've both changed their perspectives for the better would be an understatement. Since their last track together in 2013, over the last 9 years they put out many projects. But throughout the constant change, Tyler has always promoted self-acceptance within his brand, while Earl stayed close to the idea of finding oneself through the stages of life. He himself went through this journey while processing the trauma of his absent father. I like to think that some things are not meant to happen, and are better to have been enjoyed in that split moment. Despite the fact that Odd Future was an eccentric group, they just couldn't stay in that brand anymore. Change was necessary in order to grow. The roster of Odd Future has towered the charts over the years because each of them were all so unique from one another. Although the general subject matter has changed from both Earl and Tyler, I do think that a collaboration in the near future would complement them both wonderfully. Given that they haven't made music in the last 9 years, there's not much to do other than hope that they collaborate in the future. In reality, if we don't change, we don't grow.
True.
At the end of the day, I'm happy to see them both reach their highest potential of their careers, even if we did lose out on EarlWolf. Now I want to hear from you guys. What's your favorite solo album from both Tyler and Earl?
Doris and I don't got a favorite Tyler album no more. I like all of them. Doris, freaking, what's that one album? I think it's Earl. Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I'm not gonna like go too deep into it. I'm just gonna say, like the video said, you're supposed to grow as an artist. You don't supposed to be doing the same stuff like 5 years in a row, not even 2 years in a row. It depends. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to grow your sound. Your sound has to change. All types of stuff have to change. You have to develop into I could say a better artist, or I mean, a better artist is a more matured artist. But I don't know. Let me know what y'all think about that. What's your favorite Tyler and or Earl solo album? And you think they ever come back together and make an album together? Let me know in the comments below. Peace.
Mario the poet.